All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you to everyone who was able to join us tonight. Hope you're having a good evening. We're here and we want to welcome you to our webinar about tricks for choosing a trusted solar partner. I'm Roberta Washburn and I am our Director of Solar Operations here at Kokosing Solar, and I'm also an Amicus Solar Cooperative board member. Also, I'd love for you to meet my teammate, John Miller, who is one of our solar consultants. And we're both excited to be here with you tonight, as solar is our passion, and ensuring customers receive excellent and ethical customer service is our top priority. If you're interested in learning more about us, you can find us both on LinkedIn. We'd be happy to connect with you and continue to share about our journey as team members of Kokosing Solar. So for tonight, though, we're here to talk to you about the tips for your solar project, and we're really excited about that. So with that, we'll kick it off and get started. And move through some slides. Hopefully everyone is able to see my screen that we have shared. And so a little bit about us as a company, now that you know a little about John and I. So we're the longest tenured full-time solar provider here in Ohio. Our company started in June of 2000. So we're just around the corner from being 24 years old. Give us just a few days and we'll be there. Kokosing has been a contractor since 1951 and has been in the construction industry for 73 years and has remained family owned during that period of time. We have installed over 1,300 clean energy projects of various sizes. Our team is trained and experienced installation team members, and we're a licensed electrical contractor. We have a strong history, reputation, and large referral network. We're happy to share that referral network with our customers. We pride ourselves in the work our team has done for the last 23 years. Our team is part of the Amicus Purchasing Cooperative and also part of the Amicus Operations and Maintenance, otherwise known as the Amicus O&M Cooperative. And we have been for many years. And our team offers a 20-year workmanship warranty on our residential installations. Also, just take a minute to pause. If anyone comes up with a question as we are going through the slides, please feel free to drop that in the Q&A box, and John and I will get to those questions as we get closer to the end of our presentation. I just wanted to remember to mention that to you. So what makes a difference from Kokosing Solar to other installers out there? Number one, our reputation. With 20 plus years in the solar industry and 70 plus years in construction, we're a stable and local committed partner to our communities and to our customers. We feel that it's really, really important that we make a huge impact on those around us and make sure that our customers feel that impact. Our team, if you ask me, I might have a biased opinion, but I'm pretty sure that it's the best team around. I'm really proud, and they are my why. It's why I get up every day and why I'm excited to come to work and work with this team. We're passionate, really passionate about what we do, and we really pride ourselves in the work. We're also a well-trained team. We provide our team members with a living wage, and they're employed by our company. So they work for our team. They're Kokosing team members, which is exciting and awesome. You don't get that everywhere in the solar, out in the solar industry. And so we're pretty excited that these folks get to come to work with us every day. We get to see them, every morning as our crews are rolling out to the job sites and as our team members are coming into the office for their day of work. We do self-perform all of our own work, which is really remarkable, and our team is really committed and brings several years of experience to the installation field. So our results, we strive on a culture of safety 24/7. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. And our business strategy is to provide high quality projects to position ourselves as a long-time lasting partner, which we've proven in the last 23 years in the solar industry. And in the solar business, a lot of people know our name because of the work that we've done. So our competitive advantage, there are a lot of things that provide us with a competitive advantage. So I'm just going to share a few of those items. We are accredited by the BBB. Feel free to check us out on their website. It's one of the places I personally go when I want to look up providers and I'm hiring a contractor for myself. So I encourage you to go out there and look. It's important that the provider has a good review. We are part of both the Amicus Purchasing Cooperative and the O&M Cooperative. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a board member on the Amicus cooperative, and then we are part of the O&M. So it's exciting. It really helps us with our business, helps us have a plethora of resources for our team, and also have buying power for all of our customers. We have NABCEP certified team members. This means that our teams have taken courses and been presented with experiences to be certified in their respective areas. And for those who are unsure what NABCEP is, it is a widely recognized certificate in the solar industry, and it stands for North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. And so that's something that our team is committed to, and we're going to continue to have additional people continue to be certified through NABCEP. We are a Tesla Powerwall certified installer. We are part of ENR, sorry about that, Energy News Record. And then we're a member of the Green Energy of Ohio, who is an affiliate of SEIA. SEIA is Solar Energy Industries Association, if you have not heard of them before. So just wanted to make sure. We use a lot of acronyms sometimes, and I want to make sure everyone knows what they actually mean. And then our team is working to enhance our skills, like I said, and stay tuned for additional certifications as we continue to grow well beyond our 23 years of experience.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Good to see some familiar names out there. Thank you for coming and spending some time with us this evening. I'm going to talk a little bit about finding a trusted partner in the industry and kind of how we differentiate ourselves a little bit. If you've talked to me in the past, you've probably heard a little bit of this, but some of this may be new for you as well. So, all right. All right. So as Roberta mentioned, we are in our 24th year of business, 73 years in construction. I think when you are out there looking for folks to partner with in this long-term project, this is one of the things that's a big differentiator for us. We've been doing this for a long time. Some things that you may ask also, how many projects have they done? We referenced this earlier. We've installed over 1,300 clean energy projects of varying sizes, commercial, residential. We have references available. Over the past 6 months, I've probably got about a half dozen people in Southwest Ohio, where I predominantly work, who are open to being contacted. So we have a very strong referral network. We work off of referral business very regularly, and we really kind of hang our hats. Does the installer have a fully trained licensed electrician on staff? We do. That is very important. Depending on the permitting entity, you may not actually be able to install a system without one. And we've run into that before with other vendors where we've had to step in and they've not been able to actually install the project. Does the installer have NABCEP certificate holders on staff? Roberta just spoke on that. That's very important. That's an industry standard, and that is something, again, that we feel very strongly about. BBB certification, which we just covered. We have an A+ BBB rating. We've been around for 23+ years, so we have a lot of good background there. And I think this is a very important one, and people will ask me about this all the time. Will they tell you if solar will not work well for you due to roof condition, age, shading, other factors? Our job is to work closely with homeowners to determine whether or not it makes sense from a variety of perspectives, depending on your motivation from an environmental standpoint or a financial standpoint. We will definitely let you know if this is not a good option for you. And in some cases, some folks will say, hey, I want to do this anyway. We want to make sure we get good clarity on that. One of our core values as Kokosing is to operate with honesty and integrity. And we're going to talk about a lot of our core values tonight as well, because I think that's another important differentiator for us, is that we're a mission-driven organization. So you're looking for a qualified installer. I think some of the questions, again, that you're going to ask in this process: who's going to install the project? Are they going to use subcontractors? As Roberta called out earlier, we self-perform this work. We have in-house trained installers. Quality and safety is of paramount importance for us, and we can control that by using these in-house installation teams. Subcontracting in our industry is extremely common, especially with national installers. So we are a local installer with in-house teams. Is there a dedicated service team ready to assist customers? This is maybe one of the more important things that I talk about when I talk to my folks out there, customers, potential customers, where we see folks stumble and where things start to go a little sideways on folks is post installation. Is there someone there to help you if you need it? Are they going to answer the phone when you call? And we have a dedicated service and maintenance department. We have a service coordinator. There is someone there to assist you. Are they listed on solarethics.org? That's something we haven't mentioned. That's a website of Ohio installers dedicated to doing this in an ethical fashion, and that's important. Will they provide references? As I just called out, we have lots of folks who we've worked with over the years, 2.5 decades almost of service to Ohio, and a lot of folks that enjoyed working with us and who are willing to talk to our prospective customers. What are their customers saying? Obviously, we've got Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Angie's List, which I think is now just Angie, BBB, so on and so forth. We've got lots of really great feedback, and that's something important to do as your due diligence as a consumer. And what do their employees say? This is a little different. This is something that I think is important also. There's a website called glassdoor.com where you can actually jump on and you can see what their employees can actually review the organization. And that's kind of telling sometimes when you have people who are really happy, feel confident in the leadership, feel confident, and there's a good work culture. And that's something, again, that we kind of pride ourselves on is having that good work culture, taking care of the folks that work with us. And that will translate and kind of filter through to the customer experience as well. I'll talk a little bit about sales tactics. If you're on this call and you've talked to me before, you know my spiel maybe, but we'll talk about this a little bit. I've had a really great conversation earlier today about some of the things out there that may not be very accurate. And there's unfortunately a decent amount of that information out there. You will almost certainly see, if you have been Googling solar, looking for quotes on social media or somewhere on the Weather Channel will advertise, you'll see something like this most likely. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If you're talking to someone who's telling you something that just doesn't seem like it's really possible or accurate, get a different quote, get another quote. But this is the sort of thing that we actually see, and we'll see a few more here in the next slide. Again, just sharing kind of some of the things, lots of notes about no cost, the government paying for the project, getting paid to go solar, things like that. There's some truth in some of these things sometimes, but a lot of it is misleading and kind of unfortunately gives us this reputation sometimes in the solar industry. Some of the things that you may see, last chance offers, expiring tax credits, things like that. The tax credits are good through 2032 from the US government. Ohio paying for solar, I see pretty often. Nobody's going to pay for the solar for you. It's still a project that you have to pay for. The utility's paying for solar. They're not going to buy the system for you. They may credit you if you have excess generation, and sometimes in different ways, depending on if you have a utility or an investor-held utility like AES, AEP, Duke, and so on, versus a co-op. Freebies will throw in X item if you sign now. How many times can they do that before it kind of starts to really impact their bottom line, and what does that really mean? Rebates versus credits on the tax credit. The federal tax credit is what I'm referring to specifically. The key thing to understand, and I've said this to every one of you if you're on this call with me, it is not going to be a check in the mail to you. It is a credit that you have to file for when you file your 1040 the year following. And I always, always, always recommend that you find a CPA or a financial planner, someone who has good visibility of your financials, so that you can really understand how that's going to work for you. High pressure sales. One thing I kind of like to say about us is we are low pressure, high information. Sometimes I feel like we give people maybe more information than they can chew on, and so, but we want to make sure we give you the information that you need and that you get your questions answered. And that's really, do they have your best interest in mind? Are you getting answers to your questions? Do they make sense? Again, do they seem too good to be true? Do they expect a decision right away? If I come to your house for an in-person consultation, I promise you I will not sit at your dining room table until 10:30 until you force me to. We are not going to give you a 5-minute, this 10% discount is good for 5 minutes kind of thing. We're going to give you the information. We're going to present it as clearly as we can. We're going to make sure you have an opportunity to ask questions, and we're going to give you some time to kind of think on it. These are not, inexpensive systems. It's almost like buying a car. So one thing that's kind of common in our industry is commission-based sales, door-to-door folks. Often these 100% commission-based sales folks are not properly trained or necessarily well-versed in the products they're selling, especially if they're national sales organizations and they're selling in different markets with different utilities with different rules. And they may tell you things or provide information that's inaccurate just to get the sale. And that's something that's really important to us. Goes back to what I said earlier about making sure that you understand that maybe this isn't the best opportunity for you, and here's why. And then you get to make that decision. I'm not pressuring you into making that decision. So again, our responsibility, my responsibility as a sales consultant, as a solar consultant, is to get you the information that you need to make the best decision for you. We'd love to be your solar installer. We want you to make the best decision for you or your company if you're a commercial entity. And it's really important just to kind of reiterate all of the things we're talking about, all of the things involved in making these decisions, all of the things involved in moving a project forward to completion: marketing, sales, design, permitting, interconnection, installation. These are things that we're doing in-house. So when we're talking you through this process, I can tell you everybody you're going to talk to, the people who are going to pull your permits, the people who are going to invoice your billing. And that's really important. So that's a big differentiator for us in our world.
Thanks, John. Now we're going to talk a little bit about customer service and why that's important and in an installer and a partner that you're going to find. We really believe in being dedicated to a partnership, not just a sale, and we want to be there throughout the entire process and after the sale. I think we've probably all bought something in our lifetime that maybe we had hoped to have better service after we purchased it because maybe something had happened and there was a slight issue and we needed that support. So we're dedicated to that. That's something that we're passionate about. Warranties are good, but things do happen. That is why major equipment comes with manufacturer warranties, just in case something happens. Just like when you're buying a car, that comes with a warranty, because while it's not planned for something to happen, it can not often, but it can happen as you move forward. We also see a lot of installers leave the market and not be able to service the customers after they've had their installation. And that's been really prominent in the last couple of years. We've received a lot of phone calls from customers whose systems haven't been turned on, or they need to have their inverter replaced, or just a variety of things, and their current provider or their provider is no longer there and they're looking for a new provider. Our team is happy to take on that work. So if you've joined us tonight, and maybe you already have a solar system and you're looking for someone to help service that, feel free to give us a call. Our service team would be happy to help after the service. And a lot of poor quality installations are often accompanied by poor customer service experiences, which is really hard because you're spending a lot of money on something and you want to make sure that it continues to work and that it is supported. And so we're committed to that process. And know that the team that's doing your installation and providing service, they're part of our team. They're people that we eat lunch with. They're people that we see at the water cooler. They're people that we get to talk to and understand what they're seeing in the field and they understand what we're seeing in the office, so that we can all collaborate and have the best process possible for our customers, because that's what's most important at the end of the day. And always choose a provider that has a dedicated service team. I'm really proud of the team that we have here. We have our own service team, and they roll out of a couple of our locations so they can get to customers in a faster time frame and be able to service those customers at as low a cost as possible. Now, like I'll say again, we don't anticipate that anyone's going to have a lot of issues with any of their systems, but sometimes things do break. And while they're low maintenance, solar systems are typically low maintenance, they do require some maintenance. So it is important to have a provider there with you. So we're also dedicated to safety. I think John and I have both touched on this throughout the presentation. So it's important to our team. It's important to me personally that our team comes home every night, comes home safe, and comes home to their family. And it's also important to me that when they go home to their families, they're also making safe choices at home because we want them to be able to come back to work. We are just an extension of their family. And if you ask most of our team, everyone would probably agree with you. They would have pretty much the same opinion. Like, we're a family here, and we want to make sure everyone is safe. So choose a provider who self-performs. A lot of times they have their own quality and safety programs. We have our own. We're constantly going over new safety protocols with our teams. We're making sure that they're getting mapped out every day. We're making sure that they are practicing the core values that our company has. We practice 0 at-risk behaviors. So let's address something before it even becomes a risk. Let's think about what those risks are going to be and address that so we can make sure we're working safely. Again, we'll mention that our core value, safety first. We have concern for the well-being of every team member, and we're customer focused. And that is important to us as a family, that we continue to drive that outside from our team and into our customers' homes. Again, our team practices safety 24/7 because if you're constantly practicing something, it becomes a continual mindset and you're always thinking that way, which is really important. So we're safe at home and we're safe at work so that we can go home to our families and we can come back to our work family. We practice, owning our own 20 square feet, knowing what's happening inside that 20 square feet, making sure that we're keeping ourselves safe and our team safe. And we're always thinking about our big 3. What am I about to do? What are my hazards? And how can I work injury and incident free? And making sure we're mapped out to have that plan. And if something changes in our environment, we push pause. That's really important to have the ability to push pause and readdress any situation so that we can continue to work injury and incident free. And so that's something that happens every day on our teams, constantly to ensure that there is safety. So what's important to you? It's important to buy a product with quality materials, but sometimes great products can still perform poorly if they're not installed properly. So just because you're getting a quality solar panel or a quality inverter, it still has to have the correct installation in order to make that perform properly. So we also, quality and safety of installations. I just can't drive home safety enough. It's critically important. And the quality is really important. Will your system get to PTO, permission to operate? Did your installer follow local jurisdictional rules? All of those types of things in order to get you to be able to turn on your solar system. Is it an eyesore? Does it look nicely? When you look out your window or you're outside mowing your yard, it's now lawn season. What does it look like? Are you able to see that and it looks aesthetically pleasing to you? And, what is your installer's reputation and values? It's important to know that. I like to know that when I'm purchasing a big purchase from a company, like I want to make sure that their values are aligned with my values. It's really, really important. And reputation is also important. Always do your homework. I think that's critically important to the success of your project. A local installer. Typically, you're going to want to choose a local installer, someone who knows the market, the utilities, the rules, the regulations, and the AHJs. We know those very well. Our team, we have a dedicated team who knows the AHJs and the permitting process. That dedicated person is working on that, and she continually knows over and over and over what needs to be submitted, what information we're going to need, was there a change, and how we need to handle that to ensure that it continues to flow through the process as smoothly as possible. And the same goes for our solar consultants. They know our utilities. They also know the processes from the AHJ, so they can help everyone kind of understand what that's going to look like for them, what that process is going to be, what the timeline is going to look like, and what is going to be needed by the utility. Is your transformer large enough? They're going to ask you a lot of questions, not just a sales push to be able to say, like, here's all the things about our solar system, but they want to know about your electrical panel, your transformer, all of this information. They're going to ask that because they're committed to being a partner to you, and they're committed to creating a system that is going to address your needs now and in the future, to limit any issues that you could have going down the road and make the process as seamless as possible. And lowest price. As we all know, good is not always cheap, and cheap is not always good. I'm sure we've all bought things that we thought have been a great bargain, and sometimes that product just doesn't work out. So I think it's important to keep that in mind, that you're buying quality. Next, your journey. So what does it look like to go on the solar journey with our team? I can't explain how it looks for other teams, but I can tell you how it does look for our team, because we are committed to having a smooth process for our customers. So first, we're going to work with you to identify your goals. Are you wanting to have 100% offset? Are you looking at a 50% offset? What is your budget? All of those things that are going to help us design a system for you, like how old is your roof? Maybe you can't have it on the roof. We'll take a look at your guidelines, like maybe it needs to be a ground mount, and what does your space look like? What is your electrical panel? All of those things we're going to ask to learn what your goal is. It's going to help us determine that. And then we're going to talk to you about the incentives that are out there. Make sure you understand those. Again, we're not tax professionals, and we're always going to tell you to connect with your tax professional, because that's the person who's going to give you the best tax advice. And we're not going to be able to give you tax advice at all, but we can tell you what we know is out there. Know your utility usage. We're going to ask you for your utility bill so that we can see how much electric you are using. There are many rules out there where you don't want to produce over a certain percentage, or it changes the dynamic and the payback of your system. So we're going to be critically cautious about how we size your system to ensure that we size it appropriately for you, so you're not under or over producing. It's like this fine line to make sure we get in there, and then also keeping into account what your budget is going to look like for you. And then choose a site and do an assessment for viability. I talked a little bit about that a second ago when I said we're going to take a look and we're going to ask you about your roof and your land and all of those things, so that we can help, choose a site for you. We're not going to choose the site, but we're going to give some guidance, about where we would recommend that you put the panels for the best production, or we're going to recommend that you get a new roof, or we're going to say, there's a lot of shade there. Are you sure that this is where you want to put it? Because it seems like you could get a better payback if you put it in X. So consultative process is really important. We're going to create an initial design, price, and a return on investment for you. And our solar consultants are going to share that with you. If at any point there are any complexities to your project that we need to understand more about, we're going to ask additional details, bring in additional team members, and make sure we're able to bring a price and a proposal to you that works best for you and that we know is a viable solution for the future. Then we're going to determine, do you need financing? Are you able to pay cash? If you need financing, we have some financing partners that we work with, and we'll be happy to share those with you. It is up to you to, get the financial information in and get approved for the loan. We don't take any of the loan information from you because that's confidential information, and we want to make sure you're sharing that with a financial institution. But they will help you through that process if you are looking for a loan. Or if you want to pay cash, that also works for us too. We want to do what's best for the customer. In addition to that, we're going to then get to the contract once financing or cash deal is worked out, and we've determined what's the best viable solution for you. We'll get the contract signed. We do have a contract. It will come out of our system and then get signed by you, and then we'll get signed by our team, and then we'll return to you a final copy of that contract so that you have that for your records. Once we get past the contract and the contract comes in, our team will come out. We'll do a site visit at your location. If we haven't done a site visit prior to that, depending on the complexities of your project, we'll then bring that information back to our team. We'll do a design. Once the design is complete, we send that to our permitting team, who will then go through the permitting and interconnection process with your utility and your local AHJ. So that we can get everything approved. And then once all of that is approved, we'll get to the installation. We're going to schedule you for an install. Our team's going to roll out there. They're going to get your install complete, get your inspections finished, have all that information, and then they're going to bring that back to our team, who's going to finish getting any final thing completed, your meter swapped out or anything like that that needs to happen. And then you're able to flip the switch. So it's pretty exciting. I know that there are quite a few steps in that, but it's important that we hit all of those steps in order to make this project successful. If we skip any one of those steps, then there could be a lot of hiccups in the project, and you just don't want that to happen, because the last thing you want is to have a solar system on your house that you're starting to pay for, or that you've paid cash for, or that you're paying a payment against, and then you still have a utility bill coming in because your system isn't turned on. So it's really important that those steps happen in a methodical way to ensure that when you're paying, you're also producing. So Kokosin Solar, as we've talked a lot about, we are a family-owned company. We've been in operation in Ohio for over 7 decades. Our company's integrity and reputation are really essential to the ongoing success. We do not seek quick wins at all. We seek a solution and a partnership with our customers. That's really important, and we're not willing to sacrifice that. That's our long-term goal. Like, we're just not going to sacrifice getting to a quick sale in order to, we want to make sure we're making sure everybody feels like this is a partnership, not a quick win. Like John said, he's not going to sit at your dining room table till 10 o'clock at night to high pressure you into sale. It's just not our tactics. Instead, our business strategy is to provide a high quality, safe project and position ourselves as lasting partners, which is something that we're really, really proud of over our 23 years in business. And one of the things, anytime a team member joins our team, that we go over with them. So everyone has to be committed to that quality and that process and to that success for our customers.
So here's our, pardon me, contact information if you'd like to email us. As Roberta called out early on, you can check us on LinkedIn. You can find us individually on LinkedIn. Kokosin's on LinkedIn as well. If you'd like to connect or talk more about the potential to install a solar and/or battery system at your home. We also work commercially as well, so we can always work with you in that area also. I think that at this point, we can open it up to questions. Looks like we've got 1 or 2 in there right now. You can use there should be a way for you to enter a Q&A into that if you have questions on anything we've gone over, or if you have questions on something that we haven't.
John, it looks like we have one question in the queue that I can see. How long, and I'll let you answer this, I'll read it out and let you answer. How long should solar panels last on my roof?
Sure, so that's a very common question. Solar panels that we use are warranted for 25 years. They have a hardware warranty as well as a performance guarantee at 25 years. We anticipate they'll last probably 30 plus years. When we model the results and the ROI that we talked about, we do the financial modeling. We model that on a 30-year term. These systems last a long time. And then we model in a slight cost increase in the utility area to kind of mimic what we're seeing in the market. Lately, it's been quite a bit higher than what we model. There was actually a system, I believe, in Massachusetts that was just decommissioned and removed from a roof within the past year that I think had been on the roof for 40 plus years. So these systems last a long time.
And I think one thing to also note is if you happen to need a new roof, 20 years from now, or the hail happens to come in and you get a storm and it damages your roof, we do have a team that's able to come out and take those panels off and put them back on. There is a cost to that, obviously, but we are able to do that, and we do that anytime a customer has that need. Looks like we have another question. Do you install backup other than Tesla?
Sure. So the 2 primary backup systems that we currently install are Tesla and Enphase. Enphase is a microinverter manufacturer that also manufactures battery storage. Those are the 2 that we're most familiar with, or the 2 that we enjoy working with. Both are very good systems. They're different in certain ways. We will always, and kind of my role is to kind of talk you through, if you have a preference between the 2, why do you have a preference? What questions do you have? Powerwall 3 is the newest battery system that we're offering in about 6 or 8 weeks. Much improved over Powerwall 2, the second generation, in a lot of ways. And so as you're looking at Enphase and Tesla, we can kind of talk through that depending on, what your goals are and kind of what your, where you're coming from as far as what kind of battery system you're looking at.
Great. We have another question. John, feel free to toss one back to me if you want me to grab one, but otherwise I'll read them out to you. What
Sure.
happens with solar when there's a power outage? Do the panels keep working?
So the short answer is no. And that's actually a really important thing that I call out in my consultations is there's a code required feature in solar systems called rapid shutdown. So when there's an outage, line workers are typically deployed. Your system is what we call grid tied. It's directly tied into that grid, and we don't want that system to backfeed or leak electricity out to those lines and hurt those folks. So the system has to shut off its connection. It does that automatically. You don't have to do anything. So the key component, going back to the prior question of batteries and storage systems, not only are they beneficial in that, you keep the refrigerator cold, milk is cold, chicken's still frozen, you don't have to run to Kroger and restock, but also they allow the solar to continue working during the day. So if you have a daytime outage, it's 1 PM, the sun's out, and the power goes out. If you have solar only, you will still lose power due to that code feature. Whereas if you have a battery system, the battery system has equipment that will allow the solar and the battery to work in tandem together or in parallel, is what we call it. And so that system will continue to work fairly normally as long as the sun is shining. And if the sun goes down, then the battery will take over, or if the solar can't keep up. So that is actually a very common logical assumption to make, that the sun is out, I have solar, I should still have power if the power goes out. And that's actually not how it works.
Great. Thanks, John. That's a great question from our attendee. What brand of panels do we offer?
That's going to depend primarily on the type of installation we're talking about. Right now, we work predominantly with Q cells. Q cells was born a German-Korean engineering collaborative. They are now installing a lot of the modules that we install, or manufacturing rather, the modules that we install in Dalton, Georgia. So we're really pleased with the domestic manufacturing facet of Q cells. It's an excellent company, very healthy, very quality products. We're installing residentially, primarily we're installing a high efficiency module called a Qtron module, which we really enjoy. And then sometimes if it's a ground mount, we might use a larger, higher wattage, kind of light commercial style Q cell module. But those are typically right now, that's what we're offering.
And if I can just add on to that, I know we talked a couple of times in our presentation about being part of the Amicus Solar Cooperative, the purchasing portion of that. And that's really a critical portion to our success. We're able to have access to module manufacturers, low pricing on the modules, and be able to work directly with those vendors, not only for best pricing, but to make sure we're getting best quality for our customers. So it's critically important, and one of the things that we're really excited about being able to do. We have a couple of more questions here, so I won't spend too much time on that. I want to make sure we can get to everybody's questions tonight. Do I need to get a battery if I go solar?
You don't need to. You can. Again, I kind of outlined some of those benefits. The most utilities in Ohio, the cooperatives are a little bit unique in this regard. I'll use the term loosely, will allow you to kind of bank your energy production. And what I mean by that is that on the month, they'll net out your production versus your consumption. And if you actually make more power than you needed that month, in many cases, you'll end up with what's called a net metered credit. And that is essentially a dollars and cents credit that's automatically applied to your account. And then it's simply applied against your account once you owe them money again and you haven't produced enough. So you don't necessarily need a battery in that regard. If you're concerned about outages, which is typically what people in our kind of neck of the woods, if you will, use batteries for. If you're concerned about outages, that is usually where people will install batteries. And again, Powerwall 3 is kind of a different ballgame entirely versus other systems and how we installed those systems in the past. It allows for more backup, more power. I'll plug that a little bit here because it's really a really interesting system, and it's more cost effective, still not inexpensive, but more cost effective certainly. But you don't have to have a battery to go solar. You can absolutely go solar without it. It'll work great. You'll save money. It's just going to be a matter of when you have those outages, the solar will still power down.
Great. Another battery question popping up here. Is either battery system rated for exterior use?
Sure, and that's one of the updates from Powerwall 3, actually. Typically, battery systems, the two that we work with predominantly, Tesla and Enphase, historically have not been recommended for our outside use. So you'll see some of the advertisements and some of the information on their websites, the batteries outside the house next to the meter or something like that. If we're in San Diego, fantastic, that'd be great. However, here we kind of get the best of both worlds. We get really cold and we get really hot. But Tesla Powerwall 3 has changed. They've made some adjustments, some improvements on their battery system, and we actually can install that system exterior now. So if you're feeling more comfortable and confident about the battery being outside generally, or there's not a lot of room inside, maybe your main panel and your electrical infrastructure is in a finished room and you can't put that battery, next to your pool table in your basement, you can actually put that outside now.
Great, thanks, Sean. Next question, what's the advantage of installing on the ground versus the roof?
Sure. Yeah, another really good question. And as Roberta called out, well, I like to give people options if I have them, if I think they're viable. And so sometimes I'll actually model both ground and roof for someone if we get into a consultation. In a nutshell, a ground mount is usually going to make the most sense when there's a lot of shading on the roof for the home. There's not very much roof area available, not a lot of roof real estate. Maybe there are a lot of pipe vents and it's broken up into a lot of oddly shaped roof areas or something like that. But at the end of the day, sometimes it makes more sense to put it on the ground. You've got a decent amount of area available. There's not much shading. It allows us to point the array toward the south in the direction, what we call the azimuth, that we want, so that the system really operates more optimally through the course of the year. We can tilt them the way that we want to. We can kind of orient them the way that we want to, and we can kind of get out of the shading or out of that kind of suboptimal condition, and it allows us a little bit more flexibility. So sometimes it's a really good option, and sometimes you're in a suburb and you've got a quarter of an acre, and there's nowhere to put it, so you got to go to the roof.
Great, thanks, John. Any additional questions? I don't see any new ones posted out here in the chat. John, can you think of any great questions that you sometimes get asked that maybe we didn't cover tonight?
The battery with the solar is a big one, and the solar working without the battery or on its own when the power goes out is a big one.
We talked about what happens if your roof needs replaced, because that does happen.
Yep. One of the main things I'm always going to ask someone is the roof age. And once we get to a point where it's nearing when it's probably going to need replaced, we're going to recommend that you probably take a minute and think about that, because there is a cost associated with that. And optimally, we'd like to not come back and see you anytime soon. So once these installations are complete.
Maybe we could share with folks how their system works when it snows. I mean, we're in Ohio. Not that we've had a lot of snow the last couple of years, but maybe we're hopeful that we do get a little snow over the next couple of years.
Yeah, generally, especially if I have someone with a fall installation, which right now we're actually kind of tracking into the fall months already. We've been very busy. We've been seasonally busy, and the Powerwall 3, I keep mentioning it, and I promise no one from Tesla is telling me to do that, but that is kind of caused a lot of excitement. Typically, when I have someone, they get a fall installation, you're kind of on the downward slope of your production. Solar in Ohio kind of goes like this in the winter, and then about March, April starts to kind of go back up. And there's that first snow, and so folks will look at their monitoring platform and they'll see their solar systems, and they'll call me usually, or they'll call their project manager, and they'll be kind of in panic. So when it's cloudy outside, it's overcast, your solar is still going to produce. A really great example of that, which was really cool, and we probably it would be great to pull up an image of that, but we won't tonight, is during the eclipse that just happened. We had people sending us snapshots during the eclipse. Their production is going, and then of course it falls during the eclipse. But there's ever so slightly at the top, at the height of the eclipse, just a tiny bit of production, and then it goes back up. So even when it's overcast, even when the sun is mostly covered up, you'll still produce some power. When the snow comes down, though, and they're snow covered, you will probably not have any production. And I think one key thing that I mention again to folks is that we're in Ohio. We're in the Midwest. We're not in San Diego. We're not in Phoenix, Arizona. We're not in Florida. We know that. The design system that we use has that weather data integrated, so it knows that too. So you're going to get realistic expectations for the performance of the system. We're not going to tell you that, you're going to get Southern California type production. So that's really key. But if it does snow, and if they are snow covered, you will probably lose productivity pretty much entirely until the sun comes out the next day and you're on a pitched roof, let's say, and the panels are all black, so they'll warm up fairly quickly, and then that snow will slough off, and then you'll be back in the production. The technology of solar and photovoltaic, those panels actually work a little bit better in a technical in a technical sense when it's cold out. They actually prefer it to be cold out. So it's just kind of a weird technical detail on solar panels and how they work, but they work very well in the cold, as long as there's no snow on them.
Great, thanks, John. We have another question, and I think I'll grab this one if it's okay. What periodic maintenance is required? So I feel really passionate about any service and maintenance work. The team knows that. I'm always talking about that around the office. And so while they're low maintenance, we do offer what we're calling a platinum service plan to our customers, and we can review that with you. It helps if anything does happen. But periodic maintenance, we get a lot of questions like, do I need to wash my panels? Typically, the rain that we get here in Ohio is enough to wash off the panels, and you don't need to get up there and do any washing. You might want to keep any leaves and stuff away from it if you happen to have a tree close, but that's pretty rare. You're going to want to keep an eye to make sure your inverter is producing, that you don't have any panels out. And one of the great things about technology is we all have most of us have smartphones these days, and all of the technologies have apps on them, and we can actually see, I can be in Florida on vacation and pull up my solar system at home and see how it's performing that day, or see, if maybe an inverter has gone out or something has happened and I need to get service on that. So it's pretty low maintenance from a periodic maintenance standpoint. It's really about keeping an eye on it and making sure. Our team's happy to come out and do an annual inspection, but we typically don't find that super common on a residential project, because once they're installed, there is not typically a lot of items that need to get addressed. But it is important for you to watch it. I do love to watch the solar systems on my phone just to see how they're producing. I think it's super cool to watch as the system comes up in the morning and as it goes down in the evening, and just to see how it produced today versus yesterday from a temperature perspective. It's just super cool to watch how technology works for us. Any additional questions that we might have tonight? We really appreciate everybody joining us, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. And if you don't feel comfortable asking them in a group setting, feel free to grab John and I's email address, and we'd be more than happy if you want to shoot us an email, or again, follow us on LinkedIn to answer any question that you might have. We would love to talk to you guys about solar. We love it. It's our passion, and we want to be able to help everyone who has that dream to go solar. If there aren't any more questions tonight, again, we really appreciate you joining, and look forward to working with all of you and hopefully making your solar dreams come true, to be able to capture the sun and be able to also save money in the long run. Think about solar as investing in your future, as you're thinking, for the next 10 or 15 years, and how long that might be in order to, recoup savings, and also then go beyond the savings. I think if we could lock pricing in for a lot of things in our lives, we probably would all do it, as we've watched different products have price increases over the years. So this is a great example of how you can lock in that pricing now for your utility usage for the future. John, anything that you have to close?
No, I think this is great. Again, thank you all for being with us, and thank you to those folks whose names I recognize for being back with us and exploring this further. So hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Oh, I think we might have one last question. Oh, great. Thank you very much, Dave. We appreciate you joining. And again, don't hesitate to reach out Thank you all and have a great evening. Enjoy this beautiful weather and lovely sunshine that we've been getting. And we hope to talk to you again soon.
Have a great night.
Have a great night. Take care, everyone.